my mother, Ernestine Franks, got in a guardianship in Escambia County, the same place where Dr. Phil just did his show about the, I think, $8.7 million fiasco. Pretty corrupt county. But anyway, I'm in it. I represent Dr. Sam Sugar with AAAPG.net and also Rick Black with SeerJustice.org. I know both of those have given you all information, sheets. I'm going to send some never-before videos so you can get to see what the evaluation committee does. And you're going to laugh, and you're going to think, my God, I'm glad that wasn't me, because it's a hoax. Anyway, everyone that's been in this guardianship bracket, that's been involved in it, it's been a nightmare for them. And it ranges from Escambia County all the way down to the Keys. Today, I'm just not talking to the 20 or so of y'all. I'm talking to the 20 million people plus that are in the state of Florida. That this guardianship racket, and that's what it is, it's been 10 years that I've been involved in it, and it hasn't, there's been nothing that's been done about it until finally we had people come up, we had the wings, that we have the task force, and now we're going to do a little bit. There's a lot more that needs to be done. Let me tell you what else needs to be done. We need to have a meeting. These advocates, I can be in there, but Sam Sugar and Rick Black need to be there, and they need to meet with the governor and Moody. Both of those people need to hear and see what we have to say, and we need you guys' help to make that happen, okay? I'm asking y'all to help us. A few of the things that we need to add to this, things that need to be looked at, is we want this to include numbers of years in guardianship for each ward, payments to the guardians and the attorneys and trustees. That's an important one. How many wards have been, how many wards' rights have been restored? Do they ever get restored? I know one in Pensacola that I helped get his restored. Dying in guardianship per year and cause of death. We'd like to have that information. How many veterans are in guardianship? What are the age ranges of the wards? Numbers of cases per guardian, number of cases per county, and the complaints against guardians. Are there advanced directives that have been followed or not followed in this? Again, this is all, we want to find some facts. Let's just don't find a few, let's find a lot, enough so that we really can take this information and digest it and then come up with something saying, hey, this is great, or my God, I've been involved with willful blindness for the last several years. Additionally, who is evaluating the committee? Who is on the evaluation committee? How often do they evaluate people? Are they the same guy or same gal that do it? Do they have decent qualifications? Do they have a 90% success rate? Because you don't ever get partial capacity. It's either you got it or you don't, and most of the time you don't. If you have a UTI, any of you guys, gals, you'll be declared incapacitated. Again, incapacitated, not incompetent. What a play on words. Were the word's final wishes honored? You know, there's a lot of people that are in this state that are Jewish, and they do not want to be cremated, but they are. There's a couple names I'll be more than happy to send, but there's many more that simply their religious beliefs. And again, cremation, Jews, it kind of makes you think about something. It makes me think, it makes me mad as hell about it. We need to have metrics metrics are essential. We need metrics to tell us how this data is lining up versus how the parameters such as per guardian, per attorney, per county, per year, per month, et cetera. We need all that information. And again, this is going to be an undertaking. It's not a simple job. You're going to have some smart guys and smart gals to do this. You are, definitely. And it's going to be some type of, not a spreadsheet, but some type of large database that this thing is derived from, and some sense could be made of it. This is also important. Who has permission to have access to this? You know, my groups, we want to know how many guardians there are. It seems like everybody in the state of Florida would like to know how many guardians, how many wards there are. That seems like that should be released. But the detailed information of these people do not need to be shared with other guardians or their attorneys. There needs to be a firewall. They don't need to be looking and seeing what somebody else did, and maybe they can mimic it and get away with it. So, and there needs to be an audit to verify all the data and to make sure it's accurate. So that's what I have to say today. I'll be driving 600 miles. I got a few more speeches to make. But, you know, I'll say one last thing. There is something called courage, and there's something called coward. Courage is knowing something's difficult and dangerous and doing it. Coward is just the opposite. I'm looking at all y'all, and I'm calling you out. And I'm doing it in a nice way. And my heart's broken. I'll never forget when my mom got taken away. For what? Growing old and having money. That was it. I want y'all to see a video. I'm going to send every single one of you. And she wasn't even close to being incapacitated. It makes me, I could use some more language, but I'm not. I don't want to be thrown out because I need to speak. But the deal is, this stuff is happening, and the people that are involved in it are evil. I did talk, last thing I'll say, I did talk to the guardian that had my mom, Alan Core, I'll say his name. Judge Jan Shackelford was the judge. I said, Alan, after my mom got free, I said, why don't we work together and kind of help get guardianship under control? You know what he told me? I swear to God on this. He said, Doug, this is a business. I don't want to be your friend. That man, that type of attitude, in my opinion, would have no problem turning a knob at Auschwitz, okay? So that's what kind of inhumane people we have at the driving wheel. Non-educated, it's just insane. So that's all I got to say. If there are any questions. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Rep. Hinson, you're recognized.
My question is not necessarily of you, but it's of the chair and you and the sponsor. At some point, I requested a presentation on guardianship so that this committee could understand what was going on in the state with guardians in the wards. We didn't get that. I think we still need that. I want to make that point clear right now, that this data is a good bill, but it doesn't go far enough. Just like you said, there are things going on in this state and country with guardians and their wards that would make you cringe if it was your relative. And I've heard these stories, and I think this entire committee needs to hear some of these stories. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Franks.
Can I reply to that?
No, sir, that was debate, but that's fine.
All right, thank you very much.
I do want to clarify, for the record, your organization is AAAP.net. I misspoke earlier.
AAAPG.net
Thank you.
and seerjustice.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And then public testimony, Adam Ross, State Attorneys, Florida Prosecuting Attorneys Association. Waves in support. Members, we're in debate. Any debate? Representative Escamani.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I want to say thank you to Representative Mello. I agree with Rep Cheney. I want to agree with Representative Hinson as well, that I feel like we are taking a very important step in the right direction when it comes to just the need for access to data. The fact that a guardian could have a bad track record in one jurisdiction and go to another and have that clean slate is super problematic. And so I really appreciate your leadership in addressing that. Before I was even elected, I heard horror stories of the Guardian program, and this committee has had workshops on that too. And so my hope is that you can continue on this path alongside this committee to put into place more protections. And I think one of the biggest concerns that many of us have is the ability to get out of that guardianship. And we've seen that at a national level, and we've seen that locally too. And so to ensure that it's not falling victim to profit, that this really is about taking care of people. So I appreciate you for that, and I'll be supporting it.
Rep. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Rep. Cheney, for bringing this bill forward. Members, I feel like this bill is more important than we may realize. We heard earlier this session, may have been in interim committee weeks, an important presentation about guardianship in the state of Florida. And basic questions couldn't be answered. How many guardians are there in Florida? How many guardians are not living up to the standards that we expect of them. How many of them have violations? How many of them have been accused of different abuses against the individuals that they are supposed to be taking care of? We didn't know any of this information. We couldn't get it because we didn't have the data. And I don't want members of the committee to overlook that this database that we're requiring in this bill came out as one of the top priorities of the Guardianship Task Force. And that Guardianship Task Force included wards, included guardians, attorneys, lawmakers, courts, clerks of courts, a number of different stakeholders, and they all agreed that first getting the data, being able to find out more information about guardianship was one of the most important things we could do as a huge first step towards accountability. And there needs to be accountability because lots and lots of people in this state have fallen victim to poor, terrible, abusive treatment under a guardianship. This issue became famous in the last couple of years because of something in California known as conservatorship with Britney Spears. Not everyone that is a victim of basically being held prisoner against their own will, having all of their civil rights and their investments taken from them. Not everyone that is a victim is a multi-million-dollar celebrity. It's our most vulnerable. And I appreciate you, Rep. Cheney, for bringing this bill forward, and I would love to co-sponsor this bill. It's a first step. It doesn't give us everything we need, but it's an important bill, and thank you for bringing it forward.
Ranking Member Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our colleagues said many of the things I wanted to say, but I also wanted to thank you, Representative Cheney, for bringing this bill. You know, the problem we have with this area of the law is only going to get, the problems we have are only going to get more challenging. You know, we've got a population in Florida that is aging, and obviously with an aging population, you have people that suffer diminished capacity, or they are totally incapacitated. And unfortunately, in those situations, you see a lot of the worst in people, you know, in terms of greed and bad behavior. And what this task force has tried to do is start to address the fact that, you know, we have a guardianship law in this state where there can be guardians in place to protect people in those situations, but we've got to have a lot of accountability and a lot of transparency in the system. And one of the recommendations from the task force, I think it's worth noting here, is that the legislature establish a permanent committee to look at these issues going forward. And whether that's part of this committee's work going forward or another committee, I think that's worth us doing. There's also the need for a lot more education and training for everybody involved in the guardianship process, and that was one of the points there. You know, the court shouldn't be appointing a guardian unless if there's a lesser restrictive alternative available. If somebody makes a durable power of attorney and nominates their daughter or son, then the courts are supposed to respect that unless there's some reason that lesser restrictive alternative is invalid. So I appreciate you bringing this. I want to thank our clerk, Ken Burke, for his leadership and participation in the task force, and look forward to supporting it as it moves forward. So thank you.
Further debate? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
Thank you. So as it's been identified, this is a large issue in our state, and it probably is only going to get larger. And I am not unsympathetic or do not disagree with that. And this bill is the first step. It is a database that will help guide us in doing a better job. The database will be guided by the judiciary system, who sees this on a daily basis on what the problems are, and will ensure that the right information is in that database to help us with transparency and do a better job. And that information will only be available to the judiciary branch. It will not be available to the public. That information will be consolidated. So the public will not have names, addresses, estate values. That is only available to the people making the decisions in the judiciary branch. So I recognize that we have more work to do, and I look forward to working with my colleagues on making that happen, and that's the bill.
Rep. Cheney having closed. Lindsay, please call the roll.
Representatives Alupis,
Yes.
Beltran, Botana,
Yes.
Buchanan,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
Escamani,
Yes.
Fernandez Borquin,
Yes.
Garrison,
Yes.
Gottlieb,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Hawkins,
Yes.
Henson,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Salzman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Trunow,
Yes.
Chair Duggan.
Yes.
17 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. Chairman.
By your vote, that bill will be reported favorably. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee.
Members, our last bill is HB 1525 by Rep. Grahl.